Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar on serials in LEAP with version 7.6. I see that there's some new names in our registration list. So if you haven't met me yet, my name is Rachel Fisher, and I'm the Member Services Librarian for Technical Services at CCS. I provide the training and support for the Technical Services departments. One moment. I start this presentation. 1 second, I have to get the right screen up. There you go. Sorry, my PowerPoint presentation was getting a bit glitchy. All right, you should now see my PowerPoint presentation slides. So the objective for today's session is to review all the serials functions that are currently in LEAP. So I hope this will help you feel comfortable enough with LEAP that you will be interested in trying to make the switch from the client to LEAP. However, it's not required. Like my previous sessions on the updates, I'll begin with an overview of what is in LEAP and what you still need to do in the client so that you can understand the current state of development with LEAP. Then I will demonstrate the setup tasks that are available and the daily tasks that you can do in LEAP. This includes creating item templates, supplier records, and serial holdings records, as well as using the check-in record, printing route lists, and using the claims alert list. You will have time to try using LEAP by doing the activities that I provided at the end of the session, but I'll also give you some time to just test things out. So after the session is over today, I will email you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, as well as some activities that I used in the in-person training session so that you can do those as well. And you'll also be able to use the online course to practice using LEAP with the software simulations and the guided activities. So this slide provides an overview of the current state of LEAP. It's at the point where the majority of serials functions are in LEAP. So this includes setup tasks like creating item templates, supplier records, and serial holdings records. However, the client needs to be used to create the new publication pattern templates, but you can still access all of your old templates through LEAP. So this should be rare and something that you would rarely need to do. You can also create new route lists in the client, but not in LEAP. But you can print the route lists now when you check in a new issue from LEAP. One thing that still has not been added to LEAP is the ability to create the subscription records and subscription management, but I noticed that only 5 libraries use this right now. So when I asked Innovative about the timing for when they'll add subscription management to LEAP, they said it's so rarely used that right now they don't know when they would add it to LEAP.
Huh, really?
Yeah. So it's something that you would still need to use the client for. If you already have subscription records, you would need to use the subscription list in the client. Also, you would need to update any label page and content settings if you need to update like the font or something like that to print labels. That still needs to be done in the client. However, one of the new things that were added to LEAP recently is the claims alert list. So now you can do the majority of your claims functions in Leap. The only thing you would need to access the client for is if you need to print out a claims notice from the client, or if you want to look at the canned reports about the missing and unreceived issues. However, the majority of your tasks, as I said, are completely in Leap. So this includes checking in issues, combining issues, adding new issues, like a special issue, predicting issues, and withdrawing issues. So are there any questions about the specific functions that are in Leap or the client? So feel free to either unmute yourself or type in the chat if you have questions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch sharing screens to my browser. One second. All right, so I'm now going to log into Leap. If you would like to log into Leap, feel free to take some time to do so. I'm going to try to give you some time to play around with some of the functions that aren't as complex after I demonstrate them. So if you need to navigate to Leap and don't have it in your bookmarks, you can access it from this URL that I'm going to paste in the chat so that you can find it easily. I did just get a question if I could repeat the list of functions that can be done in Leap. So I'm going to go back to that that slide. Do you now see the slide? I think I'm sharing the screen so you can see the slide. Okay. So what you can do in Leap is to create item templates, supplier records, and create and edit the serial holdings records. It has all of the check-in functionality for the check-in record. So that includes checking in new issues. Once you check in that issue, you can print the labels and the route lists. If you need to predict new issues or add a special issue, you can do that from the check-in record. You can also combine issues, withdraw issues, and manage claims. I have received some complaints about how it works to delete records in Leap. So it only allows you to check the box for one record at a time to delete the issue so you can withdraw it in Leap. If you do need to withdraw a lot of issues at one time from the same check-in record, and you want to select multiple records at a time, this is something that can be done in the client, but not Leap yet. So what you cannot do in Leap, besides checking multiple boxes at a time, is to create new publication pattern templates from your serial holding record, but you can still access all of the old ones. You need to use the client to create new route lists, but you can, as I said, print the route slips from Leap. You still need to use the client to access any reports, like canned reports or printing claims notices. And all of the subscription management functions and subscription records are still only in the client. And only 5 libraries use those. But if you are interested in starting to use subscription records, feel free to let me know later on. And if you find that you're regularly wanting to do something like for the labels, like changing font or font size, then that's something that still needs to be done in the client. But you can print labels from Leap. And one thing that I've been asked before about printing labels is if you can have it set up to automatically print your serials labels when you check in an issue, and there is a setting for that. And this is in system administration, so I could set that up for you. However, if you're one of the libraries that gets your serials labels from a vendor, or you don't print labels from Leap and don't want to automatically have the label queued, I can turn that off. So some libraries have made comments that they don't want that label to be automatically queued in Leap. So feel free to let me know if you think that it's automatically queuing your labels. I can set that setting so it doesn't do so. Are there any questions about this? All right. So I'm going to now log into Leap. I'm using my username and password, and I'm going to log in as one of the libraries today. Let's see. I'll use Warren Newport. All right. So feel free to take some time to log in if you want to take some time to practice after I demonstrated some of the functions. So the first thing I do want to demonstrate is to point out some of the new features in the drop-down menu. So under the new drop-down menu, this is where you'll find the functions for creating new records. So for serials records, you have the ability to create serial holdings records, supplier records, and now we can create new item templates in Leap. So you would hover over template and click on item. Under utilities, you will be able to find the serials check-in. So this will open up a find tool to search for your record. This also has the claim alert list and the label manager. So this will be where you will print your labels from that have queued up. Under help, you do have the ability to access the Leap topics. These are the pages from Innovative. And you can search for anything that you'd want in there. If you do work with the Mark Editor on occasion, there are some new keyboard shortcuts that have been added. So you'd be able to find this by clicking on Help and then Keyboard. So I haven't found these to be extremely useful, but for those who like to try shortcuts, feel free to try them. So if you open up your username, this is another drop-down menu. You'll find settings here. So on the print option settings, you'll see the serials label options at the bottom on the right-hand side. So this would be where you would select your default label type and your print methods. So this will be the same as the client. If you do end up going back and forth between the client and Leap and accidentally choose to change your label settings or choose to change them so that you can print something else, this will make a change in the client if you make a change in Leap. So you do want to make sure that you change it back if you need to change it back. If you do have any problems printing labels from Leap, please do let me know. I did just get a question. Is it okay if I'm in production Leap and not training? I do recommend using training just to try it today. If you do make any changes to records while you're practicing, it does make changes to the live records in production if you're in production. So I recommend trying everything out while you're in training. So I did post the training link in the chat. So I'll just post it again if you did not see it. I recommend using that. So here's the link again in the chat. So you can feel free to take some time right now to just open up your drop-down menus and see if you have any questions about where to find anything. Let me know if you have any questions about these drop-down menus in the chat. Does anyone have any questions about the drop-down menus? All right. And I'm now going to just open up the Find tool briefly. I'm not going to do an extensive demonstration of searching, but I do want to point out some of the differences that we have between Leap and the client. One of the main differences is because there aren't any individual drop-down menus for modules, all of the record types are in the database drop-down menu. That's the first drop-down menu. So if you do need to search for any records, here you'll find the item templates, serial holdings records, and supplier records, as well as items and bib records. So you can't search for individual issue records here. You would have to navigate to them either from an item record or a serial holdings record or check-in record. And as I mentioned before, the only way to access that check-in record would be either to navigate to it from the utilities drop-down menu or from a serial holdings record. So it's much easier to just use this drop-down menu here. All right. Are there any questions about what I've covered so far? Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate some of these setup tasks. I know since all of you have your item templates and supplier records already, you won't necessarily need to do these very often, but it's good to know. So if you are creating a new item template, you would click on template and then press item. So I do want to point out some things that are a bit different about Leap than the client. One thing about the client is that it has the collection populated with all of the names of the collections right away when you create a new item template. But with Leap, you do have to select your branches first when you're creating new templates. So let's see. I'm going to create a template today for their mobile services at Warren Newport. And so now that I've selected both the owning branch and assigned branch, I can see the collection populated here. So I'll check youth magazines. We'll change the circulation status to available. Check the display and path. And I do need to select a material type and loan period. Find code, add in a renewal period, and select the home branch. So then the call number scheme does need to be title. And I'll call this I'll make a prefix for used magazines. And I'll make this holdable. All right, so I'm going to save that template. Oh, I forgot the name. So I'll just make this an example record and press save. So if you ever need to make any additional templates, you can always copy existing ones and then make very few changes. So this is under actions and then copy. And all you would need to do then is just change that to another type of magazine, like a collection of adult magazines instead of youth or teen, and then press save. So that is fairly easy to do. Are there any questions that you have about creating item templates? If I go too fast, please let me know. I can slow down and demonstrate that again. All right, so the next setup task I'm going to demonstrate is creating supplier records. So this is also under the new drop-down menu. You would click on supplier. So I'm going to just make an EBSCO example. And I've typed in the name EBSCO. So for serial supplier records, you only really need the information on the claims tab. Supplier records are optional, but if you do want to set up claims, this makes setting up claims and adding it to this serial holdings records more efficient because you can use that claim setup section. So in order to do so, you do need to add an address. So I'm just going to add in my office address here. You could just add in a fake address even to it, but it does need to have an address. If you want to have the claims notices emailed to yourself, you can set these supplier records up to email the claims notice to yourself. It just has to have your email here. So I know that a lot of libraries prefer to use the vendor's processes for claims instead of emailing it to them. And then you do have to save the record before you can use that claims setup section. So down at the bottom, you'll see claims setup. This is on the claims tab. You can set up to 5 claims periods. I'll just add in 2 today. So once you type the number in max claims, this activates the text box. So I'll just put in my claims waiting periods of 5 for the first 2 claims. And if you want to use these other functions for notices, you can. You just need to check the box of the cancel notice to be able to print the cancel notice. This you would need to do from the client. If you want auto cancel waiting periods, you can use that as well. You would just check the box and type in the number of days. And you also have the ability to either print notices or have those notices emailed. So it can either be emailed to yourself if you want to avoid printing it from the client, you can print it from your email instead. Or you can choose print, but that would require you to access the client to print that notice. Let's save that record. Does anyone have any questions about supplier records? All right, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda. It's creating serial holdings records. So as you probably have experienced, especially if you're one of the new libraries, creating serial holding records by copying other libraries' records is the quickest way to do so. And you can do this if you need to add any additional copies or decided to have a new subscription for a new magazine that you haven't subscribed to before. So I'm going to first demonstrate copying the record. So to do so, I need to search for another record from a different library or from my own library. So I'll click on Serial Holdings Record and search for a title. So I'll copy National Geographic Kids. So in playing around with this, if you find that you use claims with your library and want to use that, I find that it's easiest to copy a new serial holdings record that does not have claims already. So on the page with the instructions on copying new records in LEAP, I do list the library's 3-letter codes that you can look for in the destination field to find ones that do not have the claims period yet. So I'm going to open up this Algonquin record. You can then navigate to the tab to see if it has claims. That one does have claims. So I'm going to go back to the results list. Let's see. So we're in Newport and just created a item template for their mobile services. So I'm going to take a look at their existing record. This one doesn't have any claims. So this is a good one to copy. So I'm going to copy this record by opening the Action drop-down menu and pressing copy. So let's see here. Since I'm going to make one for a new destination, a different branch, I'm going to just change this to the mobile services branch. It has everything set up here, and I'm going to save this so that, oh, I need to add the copy number. So this will be copy 1 at that mobile services branch. Now it will let me save it. If you've copied a different library serial holdings records, you want to check out all of the tabs, and you can see if the Notes tab has any information you'd want to change. You may need to also change the owner in the Orders tab if you've copied a different library's record. And if you want to use the claim section of the supplier record, you'll need to add a supplier to the Orders tab. So you can do this by clicking on Find. And I'm going to look for the one that I just created today. So I'm going to filter by the owner. Here's my supplier record for EBSCO. And after clicking on that supplier record, this adds the claims waiting periods to that claims tab. I'm going to save that again. When you copy another record, you do need to predict your new issues. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to open up the current pattern. And take a look at the different tabs of the publication pattern to make sure I have the right pattern for predicting the issues. So here you can see that they've already set up an arrival pattern. And you'll want to make sure the generate items at check-in and prompt for barcode checkboxes are checked. Using a unit price in the serial holdings records is a good idea to make sure that the patrons aren't charged too much when they lose something or damage something. You can set up the number of issues to predict. So on the Destination tab, when you're copying a record, you'll need to change the start date to your current date of your current issue that you're receiving. So I'll make that a September 1st issue. And you can check the regularity pattern. So you see they've got a combined winter issue of December and January. I'll show how to do that soon when I'm creating a new issue. And then I'll press save. When you press save, this opens the preview of the predicted issues. And then all you need to do is press predict to predict the issues. All right. So does anyone have any questions on copying existing serial holdings records? All right, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to move on to creating a new serial holdings record from scratch. So if you need to create a new serial holdings record, you would open up the new drop-down menu and click on serial holdings record. So the first thing you can do is find the bibliographic record to link it to the serial holdings record. So in order to do that, I'm going to want to filter by the type of material. So I'm going to click on the filter icon, press add condition, and use the type of material for periodical. And press apply. So I'll use National Geographic. And the status will need to be currently received. I'm going to make this one for the branch. And the order type is subscription, the collection magazines. The material type will be magazine new. Call number scheme needs to be title. We'll type in a prefix. Complete last code is incomplete. So let's go to the Notes tab. And make sure the Orders tab has a supplier record. So the owner is already Warren Newport. And I'll search for that EBSCO record that I created so we can add those claims periods into the Claims tab. All right. So now that I have that supplier record there, it has added the claims to the Claims tab. You actually are not required to use the supplier record for claims if you don't want to. You actually have the ability to add and delete claims without that supplier record linked to here. So if you wanted to do that manually, you could. So I'm going to press save. Once I press save, it does allow me to add that claim after you press save that first time. So you would just press add claim, select the bibliographic unit, and add another interval in there. So you'd be able to do that without the supplier record too. All right, after pressing save, you can add the new pattern. You would just have to press new pattern. you have the ability to access all of these older templates. These are the templates that you have to create in the client in order to be able to use them in Leap. But there's plenty of templates here already, so you probably don't need to add any more. So I'm going to demonstrate creating the publication patterns without the template. So I'm going to add in an arrival pattern. Using the arrival pattern helps the claims alert list be more precise when it changes the status to pending claim. So I'm going to use 5 days before the publication date. I'm going to allow it to predict the default of the 50 issues, and I'll add in a price of $5. I do want to generate items at check-in and prompt for the barcode. The designation tab is where you'll create your pattern. So I'll just do a basic monthly pattern for now, and I'll select monthly. I'll make the start date of September 1st. You can leave the end date blank. You can ignore this season hemisphere here. That's for Australia. So for chronology, you need to add the dates in the order of year, date, then month if you have a date in the chronology, or just year and month, or year and season if you have a season in it. So I'm going to add the year first. This is the numeric format, and press OK. And then I'll add the month. So the month needs to be in the abbreviation format. So in the starting designation, you can see the preview of how it looks. And then if you click on the regularity pattern, you can make some customized changes to combine months, to omit them, or to add in others as you need to. But you can also do this from the check-in record. If you do know that you need to combine some months, you can do it here if you want to. So I'm going to demonstrate that combined winter month. And to do so, first you would need to check the box for January and December so that you can delete them. And then you'll want to add in the pattern by pressing Add Pattern. So here you can choose Combined, Omitted, and Published. So I'll combine the 2 months. And then you choose the calendar unit and type in the numbers 12 and 01 and press OK. So this added that combined issue of December and January, and then you press Save. So this predicts the issue. It shows you the preview, and then you press Predict. You can close that record. So I know that some of you may also need to occasionally change a pattern because some publications might decide to publish it in a different pattern. So recently someone asked, how do you do a bi-monthly pattern that shows the combined issues for the 2 months because a pattern changed for one of the magazines they have. So this you could do by creating a new pattern. I'm going to start without a template, and I'll add in the arrival pattern. And just generate items at check-in and prompt for barcode and type in the price. So for the designation, I'm going to choose bi-monthly. I'll have this start on January 1st. So it starts at the beginning of the year in the pattern. And I'll add in the chronology for the year and the month by adding in the year and then the month as an abbreviation, and press OK. So if we go to the regularity pattern, you can see that it's only adding in the first, third, fifth month, so forth. It hasn't combined the months. So in order to make it appear as the combined months, you do need to delete the full pattern and then add in the new pattern. So you would choose combined month and type in 01 to 02, and then do that again for 3 and 4. And 5 and 6 and so forth. So I won't take the time to go through that whole pattern. And then you would press save. So you can see here that when it predicts the issues, you can see that it's going to be combining those months so that you can see it in the designation. And then I need to press refresh to see that pattern. So I don't really need this for National Geographic, but if you do want to close a pattern because an old one is not being used anymore, you can click on it and close the pattern. And then you can also click on it and delete it, and this will remove those predicted issues from the check-in record. So one other pattern I want to demonstrate is for special issues. So this would be a completely irregular pattern. I'm going to check the boxes for generate items at check-in and prompt for barcode on the details tab and add in the price. So for a completely irregular pattern, you can use the frequency of completely irregular. And I'm going to use a date because I'll expect this to have a year in it. And just add the year in the chronology. But for the enumeration section, you can add in a free text field. So under format, you would check free text. And then you need to type the word free text in brackets so that text box will appear in the issue record. And then press OK. This will not predict any issues because it's completely irregular. So all you need to do is press save, close the pattern, and refresh the serial holdings record. And you can now see that there's a completely irregular pattern here. All right, so there is one more pattern that I'd like to demonstrate, and that's a quarterly pattern if you need one for volumes and issues or numbers. So I'm going to set up my details tab first. And then on the designation tab, I'll use the frequency of quarterly. I'm going to start this on January 1st. So for adding in volumes and issues, you would use the enumeration setup section. So you would first type in your caption. I'll use VOL period. And the format will be number. So the start value will be the current volume. I'll just make that 258. And then press OK. So next I'm going to add in the issues or numbers. So I'll type in NO period for number. That will be a number. And because this will be quarterly, it will start at the value of 1, have 4 units, and then it will restart at the next year. And then I'll press OK. So you can see the starting designation has a preview of the volumes and numbers. And then you can press save to predict the issues. All right. Does anyone have any questions about serial holdings records and the ability to work with the publication patterns. Feel free to type any questions in the chat. I went too fast with something, it's a lot of information, so feel free to let me know. I can demonstrate something again. We got a question. What does the arrival pattern mean? So the arrival pattern allows the claims alert list to be more precise. So if you're using the claims alert list for changing the status to pending claimed or to claim something that's been damaged, this is more for the for Polaris to know when it's supposed to arrive. So if you know you're expecting an issue on a specific date, whether it's before or after the publication date, then you can use the arrival pattern to say either before or after. So right now, this pattern, for example, is 5 days before publication. So if you're having if you're looking at an issue that's monthly, for example, and it's supposed to arrive September 1st, if it gets to 5 days before September 1st, then Polaris will change that to pending claimed if you have not checked in that issue. And I've got another question. If you're not using the claims, can we skip adding a number? You can skip adding a number if you're not using claims. So that's not a problem. It's not a required field. Are there any other questions? All right. I'm going to move on next to the daily tasks of how you can use your check-in record. Oh, I got another question. Let's see. The question is, I noticed for some magazines, the fall issue shows a magazine, but in the system, it shows fall on the issue, but in the system, it shows autumn. How do you change the word of autumn to fall? I've heard that some libraries like to use special issues for those cases so that they can type the word fall in instead of autumn. So you can check though. I recommend checking to see how other libraries are doing it because you'll want to make sure the designation is the same as all the other libraries so it can properly fill the hold. So I'll demonstrate creating a special issue for those cases in a second. I'm going to now open up a check-in record. So this is under the Utilities tab and Serials Check-in. So when you open up the Find tool, it does say you're searching for serial holdings records still, but this is really going to open up the check-in record. So I will filter by the branch. And I created those for Warren Newport's Mobile Services branch, and I'll press Apply. So I'll look for National Geographic. And I'll open this one that I created this special pattern for. So the check-in record is fairly easy to use. To check in an issue, you just check the box for that issue and press check-in. Oh, that one came up because I didn't have a matching item template. So I'll just open up a different one. 1 second. We've got a lot of examples from our new libraries that we're training right now. So I will open up from one from Waukegan instead. Let's see. I'll use this one from AARP. So I'll click the box or check the box for November and press check-in. So if you've checked the boxes for generating the items and prompting you for a barcode, you will see this dialog box that will open. You can add in your barcode and press continue. That creates that item record. So you can see, if you saw that label queued successfully just pop up, that was the label that causes it, or that was the setting that causes the label to queue automatically. So that's added to the label manager so that you can print it in batch. So if you don't want it to be printed in batch, you do have the option to print labels from the check-in screen. So if you filter to the issues or part status to receive, you can just check the box for that issue and press print label. From this, if you did want to, for some reason, undo a check-in, you can press undo check-in if you want to. So I'll go back to the expected issues. If you did receive some combined issues, you can combine the issues from the check-in record by checking the box for the two issues and press combine. You will see a dialog box for that issue record and then press continue. So this just adds it to the list of expected issues. You would then have to check the box to check it in again. If you do need to predict new issues, you can do so under the Actions drop-down menu by clicking on Actions and press Predict Issues. So this allows you to check the box for, or click on the pattern that you want to predict, and then press Continue. So this will show a preview of the new issues, and then press Continue. So that's something you may need to do in the future. If you do have a special issue, you can then click on Add Issue or Part. So this is when you would want to have multiple patterns. You would click on the completely irregular pattern and press Select. So if this ended up being a fall issue instead of autumn, you can type fall into the free text and then press Save. So I'm going to close the issue record, and you can see that fall has been added to the list of expected issues. You can check that box and check in. So if you did end up predicting issues that were like autumn and have seasons, you could check the box and delete that issue so that you don't have it on the list. So I'm going to check that in. I get prompted for the barcode again, and then press continue. Does anyone have any questions about these serials check-in records and what you can do with them? We received a question, will changing autumn to fall cause a problem with holds? If someone does want to place a hold on it and other libraries have other patterns, it will only allow you to place a hold on the pattern that matches. So it would, if you place a hold on an autumn record, only the autumn's issue records will be used to fill the hold. If someone places a hold on one that says fall, only the ones that say fall and match exactly will be used to place that hold. I did look recently to see how many uh, holds we actually had at a given day on for cereals, and it really was like less than 1% of all holds on a given day. So I don't know how problematic would be since so few people place holds on periodicals. Are there any other questions about cereals check-in? So I'm going to give you some time. If you want to open the utilities drop-down menu and navigate to a check-in record, you can take some time to take a look at your check-in record, practice checking in an issue, and see if you have any additional questions about what you see in the check-in record. I just got a question. Will I have slides for the three types of patterns that I demonstrated? I don't have slides right now, but I can add them to the slides and send them out later. There are step-by-step instructions on the CCS website for the publication patterns. So I can add links directly to that page. So that would probably be the most useful. And if you have questions about the information on that web page, then you can feel free to ask me for that. So I'll show you how to navigate to that. So from the CCS website, you would open the How To drop-down menu and select Cereals. And then if you scroll down to Cereal Holdings Records, there's a page just on publication patterns in LEAP. So this has instructions for creating the pattern for a chronology, enumeration, supplements, and how to use the regularity pattern section for customizing it. Are there any other questions about cereal holdings records or check-in records? Out of one more thing I didn't demonstrate for the check-in record, and that's the ability to print the route slips. So I'm going to search for a different record that has a route slip. So this would be for the cases in which you would have a professional publication like library journal or book list, and you'd want to have all of the staff read it. The route slip has lists of names. So I know that there's some for Warren Newport, so I'm going to check the box for Warren Newport and press apply. And search for library journal. So they're using the other collection for the ones that will be routed to staff. And I'll check in a June issue and type in a fake barcode. Press continue. So when you check in an issue that's linked to a route record, you will see this additional message pop up confirming that you want to print your route slip. You can press OK. This will generate a PDF. You can press cancel to check it in without printing the route slip. So I'll press OK. So it is sometimes a bit slow. And you can see that this route slip will pop up listing the names of the staff that will receive the issue. You also have the ability in the client to add in some notes if you're interested in adding in notes. All right. Does anyone have any questions about check-in records or serial holdings records? Does anyone need any additional time to play around with the check-in record? I'm going to move on to claims alert list. So if you do want to use the claims alert list for managing your claims, you'll find it under utilities and then claim alert list. So for the libraries that do not use the claim settings, you can still see that your issues will appear in the list even if you haven't used them as pending claim. So I will try to choose a different branch that I know has some claims in their claim alert list. And you can see this data is old. It's from May. That's why these issues are here. So these all have a status of pending claim. To claim something, you would check the box and for that issue and then press claim. A pop-up will appear confirming that you want to claim the issue. You could press yes, and then you can select a reason. So the reasons include damaged in transit, items never received, previous claim, or no response. I'm just going to choose items never received and press claim. So you can filter the status to claimed to see all of your claimed issues. If you received that issue late, you can undo the claim by checking the box and pressing undo claim. But I do want to show you where that claim status appears. In the issue record, when you click on it, you can see at the bottom of it, there's a claim history. So there are options within the check-in record and the issue record for claiming issues. So I have an issue record open. You can undo the claim from that issue record or claim it. There's also the ability to print the label that you can see under this Actions drop-down menu. So I'm going to undo the claim. and confirm that I want to undo the claim. And you can see that that's updated the status to undo claim. So it's fairly easy, I think, to just access the claims alert list for claiming issues, since you can access that from the utilities drop-down menu. But if you were in a check-in record, you could do that too. So I can navigate to that from the serial holdings record. So I just clicked on that ID for the serial holdings record. So there's a link to the check-in record from that serial holdings record. So you can see if I click on an issue, this button for claim will also appear. We don't have an undo claim button, but you can also see that status in the serials check-in record of pending claim because it hasn't been checked in yet. So if I claim that, that changes the status to claimed. If they send a new issue to replace it, I can change that to undo claim and press undo claim. And then I'd be able to check in that issue. So I'll refresh that. When I refresh that, that changed to pending claim again. And then I can check it in because I received a replacement. So now that I have some labels queued up, and if you do print your own labels, you can find them under the Utilities drop-down menu, and then click on Label Manager. So I need to change these to serials. So you can see that when you switch this to a different label, I think I was using serial sheets today, but I was also using continuous feed roles on a different day. So you can see I have a preview of these labels set up. Under the Actions drop-down menu, you can press Print Labels. This opens up a PDF so that you can print from the PDF. If you are having problems with the label size and content from LEAP, please let me know. We have had some libraries report some glitches with the label size and content, and it does require creating separate label settings for LEAP than the client. And I can work with Innovative to help you out to make sure those settings are correct. If you are one of the libraries that do not want to generate your own labels, you can also come into here to clear labels. So I'm just going to press clear. So that removes all the labels. You also can edit some labels if you need to by clicking in them to edit. If you see that something is on a different line than you want it to be in. But this does not allow you to change the font size or font. If you do need to do that, that's something that needs to be done from the client. But if you open the client up, you will still see that these labels are queued up. It retains them in both the client and LEAP. Are there any other questions? I'm going to open a brief poll for everyone to do. 1 second while I launch that poll. My question is, are you ready to try using LEAP for your daily tasks? You can choose yes, no, or you may be interested after additional training. So you can make that choice because I'm curious to know what you think about LEAP. I'm going to leave it open for a little bit longer. There's still some people that haven't answered. All right. So 67% said yes, and 33% said maybe after additional training. That's great. I'm really glad that so many of you are interested in trying LEAP. I know it's been difficult to think about making that transition as you're hearing little pieces are being added to LEAP at a time, but I definitely think that it's at a good point so that the majority of what you can do is in LEAP for serials. Are there any other questions that you've thought of? Feel free to type it in chat or unmute yourself. On the screen, I do have a QR code for our training evaluation. Feel free to access that with your phone. I'm also going to send out a link to everyone that attended and registered the session today, so you can fill out our training evaluation and let us know what you think of our training. And we're always interested in improving our training sessions that we have. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm going to be sending you the slides, and I'll include some links to our step-by-step instructions on the slide. Feel free to use the online course for practicing using LEAP through our software simulations and exercises. If you have no other questions for today, oh, there's a question. Is the claims alert list only to update the status for our library? Yes, it updates the status for the issues that are connected to your check-in record. So it's only the issues for your library. Are there any other questions? Well, it looks like there are no more questions today. Thank you for coming to the webinar. And have a great day, everyone.